You are 9 years old, and today is your wedding day. The palace is suffocating in its beauty walls, lacquered in gold leaf. Banners of imperial silk trembling in the windless air, marble floors polished to a mirror sheen so that you must avoid looking down, lest you catch a glimpse of your own face reflected back at you, painted and powdered beyond recognition. You were awoken before sunrise by the rustling of your handmaidens, stripped of your sleeping clothes, and lowered into a steaming basin of lavender and goat's milk, where they scrubbed your small frame until your skin burned, lifting your arms and legs like a doll's as they rubbed salt behind your knees and between your thighs. You did not cry. You had learned long ago that tears made things worse. You simply stared ahead as the older women whispered to each other in coded phrases. She's smaller than the last one, and began the transformation. Hair slicked back with honeyed oil, cheeks stained with crushed pomegranate, a veil of white gossamer arranged over your head with pins so sharp they left tiny pricks of blood in your scalp. Around your neck they clasped a necklace so heavy with rubies it bruised your collarbone, and around your wrists bracelets once worn by a dead empress whose name you were forbidden to speak. When they were finished, they stepped back in silence, inspecting their work. You did not recognize yourself in the bronze mirror. That was the point. The corridors are lined with quiet spectators as you walk toward the ceremonial chamber, your bare feet making no sound against the velvet runners that cover the cold stone floors. Each step feels rehearsed, though no one has told you what will happen next. You only know that you are to obey. Disobedience is shame, shame is failure, and failure is exile. Or worse, the guards at the door, cloaked in crimson with silver lions emblazoned on their shoulders, bow as you pass. You are not a girl to them. You are not even a person. You are a symbol, a means, a vessel. Your destiny was sealed before your bones were even formed, and now you are being delivered like an offering to fulfill it. Inside the chamber, hundreds of lamps hang suspended from the ceiling, their oil-slick flames flickering softly in the dim light, casting shadows that dance across the walls like silent witnesses. A carpet of white rose petals has been scattered across the floor, though their scent has already turned bitter, decaying at the edges. Incense curls through the air in ribbons of smoke, clinging to your lungs and making you feel lightheaded, as if you are watching everything from far away, through glass. Your brother stands at the center of the room. He is 12 years old and dressed in ceremonial garb, embroidered with symbols you were taught to revere but never to question. His posture is rigid, his eyes lowered, his lips pressed into a pale, trembling line. You have not spoken since yesterday. You have not played together in months. He too has been changed, trained, groomed. Like you, he was plucked from the world of children and reshaped by the machinery of the court. They have taught him how to recite his lines, how to mask fear with pride, how to silence doubt with obedience. He does not look at you as the priest begins to chant in the old tongue, a language reserved for coronations, executions, and incestuous rites. You stand beside him with your hands clasped, your heart pounding so loudly you fear it might drown out the priest's words. But no one notices. No one cares. This is not a day for children. This is a day for empire. Across time and across continents, there have been houses that worship the purity of their blood above the safety of their daughters. Ptolemaic Egypt, where Cleopatra II was married to her brother while still a girl. The Habsburgs of Europe bred themselves into madness. The early dynasties of Persia and Byzantium, where the sacredness of lineage was enforced with locked doors and silenced screams. They called it holiness. They called it loyalty. But behind every euphemism lay the same transaction. A girl's body given to power, a childhood swallowed by protocol. There are few surviving records of how these children felt, only genealogies, marriage contracts, and medical notations on fertility. The historians record the names of kings, the years of reign, the political implications of each union. The voices of the girls are absent. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the echo. a whisper behind the official scrolls, a shadow on the painted wall, a soft sob beneath the wedding hymn. As the ceremony concludes, your brother is led away by two older men in gold-trimmed robes, his face pale and eyes vacant. You are taken by the matrons to the bridal chamber. Not a room but a ritual site, draped in red and perfumed so heavily it makes your stomach turn. They do not leave you alone. One woman brushes your hair again. Another places warm stones on your stomach, whispering that it will help prepare your womb. A third presses a cup of bitter liquid to your lips and tells you to drink. You ask what it is. She slaps your cheek and repeats the command. You drink. The taste is unbearable. You feel it crawling through your insides like oil. They undress you slowly, folding each layer of fabric with the reverence given to holy objects. You are laid on a bed you cannot fill, the silk sheets cold against your skin. Candles are lit. Prayers are spoken. Still, no one explains. You do not know if your brother will come that night. He doesn't. The matrons whisper, it's too soon, that the moon is not in the right place, that you have not yet bled. You do not understand. You are not meant to. What matters is the waiting. What matters is submission. You lie awake beneath the embroidered canopy, staring at the silk threads that form the imperial crest, the lion devouring the lamb. Your fingers tremble beneath the blanket. You are not cold. You are not tired. You are not afraid. You are nothing. And still, you are expected to be everything. When dawn comes, a woman places a hand on your belly and says, soon you will belong to the blood. She does not smile. She says it like a sentence, like a prophecy, like a curse. And thus begins your transformation from child to wife, from sister to sacrifice, from girl to ghost. The ceremony is over, but the silence has just begun, and in this world, silence is survival. The days after your wedding are neither restful nor joyous, for you are not permitted to recover from anything you do not have the language to name. You are not given time to understand what has been taken from you because, in this place, a girl's comprehension is not valued, only her compliance, her fertility, her silence. Each morning begins before the sun has fully risen, when the air is still cold and the sky bruised with the last colours of night. You are lifted from your bed by quiet hands and taken to the women's quarters, where everything smells of sour milk, wilted herbs, and iron. The matrons, those strange, heavy-eyed women who speak in the tone of midwives, but move like priests, examine you in silence, their hands cold and clinical as they press your abdomen, measure the width of your hips with ribbons, chart the softness of your breasts. They never call you by name. You are always the girl or the vessel. Sometimes, when they think you're not listening, they whisper about the urgency, about the need to make you ready, about the consequences if you are not. They begin the rituals slowly, as if easing you into a new shape. Your food changes first. No more coarse bread or boiled eggs, only blood-rich meats, ground liver soaked in honey, and broth thickened with bone marrow. Every bite must be consumed under watch. If you gag or hesitate, you are punished, not with violence, but with colder eyes, longer silence, tighter corsets. You learn to swallow without chewing. They tell you it is for strength, for your future child. They do not ask if you want a child. Want is not part of your vocabulary anymore. You are no longer a person. You are a womb being coaxed into ripeness. As the weeks pass, the training becomes more invasive. You are taught how to sit with your spine straight, your knees apart at just the right angle. You are instructed in breath control, how to inhale through your nose and exhale through parted lips so that your face remains serene, even if your insides are on fire. A wet nurse is assigned to you, not because you have borne a child, but because the dynasty assumes that you will, and soon, and that you must learn how to be near crying infants, how to hold them without flinching. She places a newborn in your arms and watches as your fingers tremble beneath its weight. You do not know how to hold it, this red, wet creature that smells of milk and fear. The nurse yanks it back and shakes her head. You have failed another lesson. Your brother, now your husband, has been taken elsewhere. You do not see him for weeks at a time. When you do, he is changed, quieter, angrier, his face sharper with the shadows of boyhood fading too quickly. He no longer plays with you or sneaks sweet cakes to your room. He has been taught to look at you differently, and you can feel it in his stare, a mixture of fear, guilt, and something else, expectation. You are both children being weaponized by the same machine, but only one of you will bleed for it. When he visits, he speaks little. He recites lines about duty, about family, about the gods and their will for your bodies. He places a hand on your shoulder like a stranger mimicking intimacy. Sometimes, when the doors are closed, he begins to cry, but never for long. He is being trained too well. The priestesses arrive next, and their work is more brutal than the matron's ever was. They carry scrolls and icons, recite hymns in the language of fire and sacrifice. They say your womb must be purified. They say you are holy, not because of who you are, but because of what you will produce. You are scrubbed with ash and wine. You are made to kneel for hours before altars soaked in old blood. Your legs ache, your knees bruise, but you do not move. You have learned that movement invites attention, and attention brings new forms of correction. One day they burn dried herbs beneath your chair and cover your lower body in a linen tent, forcing you to sit in the smoke for hours while they chant prayers meant to soften the way. You vomit twice, but they do not stop. They only say, "Good. It's working." No one speaks to you of pleasure. No one prepares you for love. There is no mention of the act itself. Only vague metaphors about opening, receiving, bearing. You are told how to breathe when the pain comes, how to hide your discomfort behind stillness. You are warned not to cry, lest your child be cursed by weakness. You are forbidden from screaming. You are forbidden from refusing. You are forbidden from forgetting your role. Each night you are returned to your chamber, your head buzzing with incense and confusion, your body sore from stillness, and your heart, a thing you once imagined as light and full, now feels like a stone at the bottom of your chest, heavy, immovable, cold. They monitor your body like a crop. They touch you as if checking the ripeness of fruit. One woman begins to chart your dreams, claiming that divine signs can foretell the readiness of a mother's soul. You begin to invent dreams to please her golden birds, flowering rivers, suns that never set. She nods approvingly, but you can see the hunger behind her eyes. She wants proof that the bloodline will continue, proof that you are worth what is being done to you. In all of this, the most unbearable part is not the pain, not the degradation, not the slow unraveling of your identity. It is the waiting, the expectation, the gaze of an entire empire pressing in on your small body like a vice, demanding something you do not fully understand but are nonetheless required to produce. They speak of you at court not as a person but as a probability, a future event, a vessel of hope or failure. Your value has nothing to do with your voice, your mind, or your suffering. Your value is in your function. Your success will be measured by what grows inside you, and whether or not it lives. And then one morning, it happens. You wake before the sun, as always, but your mouth is dry, your skin clammy. You feel something inside you turn. You run to the basin and vomit bile. When the matrons arrive, they do not scold you. They nod, almost with relief. They press their hands to your stomach and smile. One of them says, "Praise the gods. She's beginning." You do not know what that means, but your body does. Your body understands what your mind cannot. You sit in silence as they prepare the ceremonial tinctures, the protective amulets, the announcement to the court. By midday, the empire has been informed. The girl is with child. You are 10 years old. You have no idea what that truly means. But everyone around you acts as if it is a miracle, a triumph, the fulfillment of prophecy. You want to scream, to run, to ask why your chest aches and your stomach cramps and your heart won't stop hammering. But you do not. You only bow your head and let the midwives lead you back to bed, where they place their hands over your womb and murmur songs meant for mothers. No one asks if you're afraid. No one asks if you're ready, because to them you are not a child. You are a success. The world becomes very quiet once they announce you are pregnant. Not because the palace grows still. It does not. The halls remain loud, with ministers whispering in corners, with footsteps echoing from chamber to chamber, with the scratch of pens documenting every shift in your condition. But for you, there is silence. Not a peaceful one, but a smothering kind, as if a great glass bell has been lowered over your body, and everything within it has been sealed away from comprehension. You are 10 years old, and though your stomach has not yet grown and your breasts remain flat and your bones ache from growth and not from weight, the women around you treat your body like it has already fulfilled its purpose. Your womb has become the palace's most guarded room. You are watched constantly, not as a person, but as a delicate mechanism that must not break. You are given new food, new clothes, new chambers. Your old ones stripped of anything childish. Your dolls are taken away and replaced with talismans. The walls of your bedchamber are painted with symbols of fertility and royal continuity. You are no longer addressed by name. Now they call you the mother of the heir. The matrons no longer instruct you in etiquette or obedience. That phase is over. Now you are instructed in stillness, in temperature control, in when and how to bathe without sending your body into spasms. You are given roots to chew, bitter and dry, that prevent sickness. When the nausea comes, you are not comforted, you are praised. Good, they say, placing a hand on your forehead. That means it's strong. When you bleed, they rush in like a storm, inspecting the sheets, pressing you flat against the mattress, measuring the loss in their heads before they assure you that everything is fine, even when it clearly is not. Your body is no longer yours, but neither is it theirs. It is now the property of everyone. The whispers of your pregnancy travel through the court like wildfire, each echo reshaping the story. Some say you carry twins. Others say it will be a girl marked by divine signs. Still others whisper darkly, dangerously, that the child is not your brother's, that it was conceived through sorcery or worse. But none of that matters. Not the truth, not your age, not your suffering. Only that something is growing inside you, and the court has already crowned it in their imagination. The days become a fog of forced rest and ceremonial inspection. Priests arrive daily, holding amulets to your belly and listening for signs in the sound of your breath. Midwives place their ear to your navel and declare, with godlike certainty, that the child is a boy. You are instructed not to question them. You are instructed not to feel. Your brother visits once, flanked by guards and chamberlains. He stands at a distance, staring at your face as if it were a reflection in broken glass. When he speaks, his voice cracks. He tells you he's proud of you, that the gods have chosen you, that your pain will bring glory to the realm. You do not answer. You do not need to. The silence is now your only defense, your only weapon. Inside you, something does grow. You feel it, though no one tells you what it is supposed to feel like. A strange pressure, a slow distortion, like a second version of yourself twisting your organs into new shapes. Some nights you wake in pain so sharp it blinds you, but the servants only tuck blankets around your legs and tell you to breathe through it. They do not want to hear your cries. Your cries disrupt the myth they have built around you. You are supposed to be holy, serene, transcendent. They say your womb is the continuation of divine blood, that your suffering is a mirror of ancestral queens, that your body is participating in something eternal. But you are not eternal. You are 10 years old, and you are frightened. You are so very frightened. As the pregnancy progresses, your bones begin to betray you. Your back warps under the unfamiliar weight. Your hips ache when you lie too long on one side. You lose your appetite, you lose sleep, you lose your breath when climbing stairs, and still you are made to walk the palace gardens in full view of the court, your belly pushed forward by tight corseting, your steps measured, your smile carefully practiced. They dress you in gold-threaded gowns, too heavy for your frame, lace your ribs until your lungs whimper, paint your face until your skin peels. All of it is a show for the nobility, for foreign ambassadors, for the portraits being painted in real time. You are no longer a child or a wife or even a mother-to-be. You are now a living prophecy. An object. A performance. You begin speaking to the child inside you, not because anyone told you to, but because it is the only voice that answers. At night, you whisper to it as if it is already born, as if it can understand, as if it too is afraid. You tell it stories you half remember from your nursemaid. You tell it you're sorry. You tell it not to be afraid, that you will keep it safe, that maybe, if you are lucky, you will both survive this. But even as you speak, you know the lie in your voice. You have seen the drawings in the physician's books. You have heard the chambermaids whisper about what happens to girls your age who are made to bear children. You have seen the secret hallway behind the physician's wing, where the bodies of those who failed are carried out wrapped in silk and buried in unmarked graves. You know the odds, but you cannot stop, not now, not when the baby kicks and reminds you that something real is coming. The court begins preparations for your child's arrival months before your due date. Astrologers are summoned to cast his horoscope. Midwives are tested on false labours to ensure they will not fail when the time comes. A new cradle is carved from ivory. A new lineage scroll is inked in gold. A title is assigned before the child has drawn breath. They argue over the name, but no one asks for your opinion. They embroider it anyway on your bedding, on your gown, on the ceiling of your chamber, so that when you look up during contractions, you will see the future staring down at you. They call it devotion. You call it erasure. By now, your belly is grotesquely large, jutting out from your small frame like a grotesque monument. You can no longer walk unaided. You are lifted and carried from chamber to chamber like a relic. Your skin splits in places, leaving angry red marks across your sides. Your ankles swell until they can no longer fit into slippers. You bleed in ways that frighten even the midwives, but they do not tell the court. They do not want to be blamed for your failure. You are not examined by physicians anymore, only by old women with shaking hands and sharp eyes who mutter that the child is heavy, that it lies wrong, that perhaps the gods are testing you. They offer no relief. They offer only prayers. And one night, just before the moon reaches its full phase, you wake to a sharp, tearing pain that radiates through your lower back like a blade. You try to call for help, but your voice catches in your throat. It begins not with water, but with blood, thick, dark, terrifying. It stains the sheets, the floor, your thighs. The midwives are summoned, the priests follow, the court begins to gather in the adjacent chamber. They are ready, but you are not. You are 10 years old, and something inside you has begun to break. You clutch your stomach and whisper to the child, "I will go first, little one, don't be afraid." But the walls are already closing in, and no one is listening, not even the gods. It begins in the night, but time has already lost meaning for you. Hours bleed into each other, as easily as the blood now soaking through the sheets beneath you. The pain is not sudden. It is slow, creeping, methodical, like a vine tightening around your spine. It begins as a pressure, then a twisting, then a low, grinding sensation in your hips that steals the air from your lungs. Your legs refuse to obey. Your body trembles under its own weight. You try to speak, but your lips are cracked, and your voice is barely a whisper. Still, the midwives come, summoned by the crimson blooming across your linens, their hands already red from other girls, other deliveries, other rituals masked as births. They do not speak to you. They speak to each other in hushed, tense tones, arguing over positions, timing, signs. You are not asked what you feel. You are not asked what you need. You are a vessel reaching its conclusion, and they treat you as such, gently, but with a detachment that makes the kindness more terrible. They begin moving around you with the frantic precision of people who know that something is going wrong, but are too afraid to say it aloud. They prop you up on blood-soaked pillows. They strip away your gown, revealing a belly grotesquely swollen and distended, the skin stretched so thin it looks translucent beneath the candlelight. You see hands moving between your legs, hear commands shouted to servants to bring more towels, more herbs, more opiates. The pain is now constant, a roaring in your body like fire trapped under your skin. You feel as if you are being turned inside out. You are no longer in your body. You are behind it, above it, watching from somewhere else, somewhere that does not hurt. And yet the pain does not release you. It drags you back again and again, forcing you to remember that you are not a ghost yet. Not yet. Outside the chamber, the court waits. Behind a tapestry, courtiers murmur their bets. Boy or girl, living or dead, divine or cursed. The emperor himself, your father, waits not in concern but in calculation. The child must live. You are expendable. The walls of the birthing chamber are hung with icons of holy mothers, their faces beatific as they cradle newborns. But their eyes are empty. Painted by men who never bled, you are not holy, you are not calm. You are breaking. The first scream that escapes you is not yours. It is dragged from you by a force deeper than your own will. You did not want to scream, you were told not to. Screaming is for common women, not for royal vessels. But your body has betrayed that silence. The pain is no longer inside you, it has become you. You feel your hips separating, your flesh tearing, your mind shattering into pieces too small to retrieve. The child is not coming. The midwives know this. You hear it in their frantic tones, in the glances exchanged when they think you cannot see. They try to turn the baby, push on your stomach, insert long fingers into places that were never meant to be touched. You cannot breathe. You begin to beg, not for help, not even for your life, but for it to stop. No one answers. You are not a person anymore. You are a failed chamber. And then comes the decision. One of the old women, the one with scars down her forearms from too many close calls, nods to the physician who has been waiting in the corner. He steps forward, not with reverence, but with haste, and unwraps the tools, long blades, hooks, cloth soaked in spirits. They do not tell you what they are doing, they only hold you down. A priest enters to recite verses. Not for you, for the child, for the heir. The physician looks into your eyes for a moment before he lowers the blade, and in that moment you see no mercy, only duty, only survival, not yours, theirs. The cut is deep, and your body spasms as it is forced open, the flesh cleaving with a sound you never imagined a body could make. They are taking the child. You are still alive, but barely. Your blood pours onto the floor, mixing with the rose petals from earlier blessings, turning them into pulp. The priest chants louder to drown out your gurgling cries. The midwives move faster. One of them whispers, "Hold her down." Another, "Hurry, before she dies." And yet death would be a kindness, and you know it now. The baby emerges in silence. It does not cry at first. You think perhaps it is dead, and for a fleeting moment you feel relief. Not because you wish it harm, but because if it dies, perhaps they will stop. Perhaps it will end. But then it gasps, and the room erupts in movement. They lift it high, bloody and shrieking, and someone runs to inform the court the heir is born. A boy. Alive, divine. You are still lying open, bleeding out, shaking uncontrollably, and they no longer look at you. Their task is complete. Your brother is not allowed to see you like this. He is kept in a separate chamber, surrounded by tutors and astrologers who tell him he is now the father of a future emperor. He is 12 years old and does not understand what that means. He does not ask where you are, or if you survived. No one tells him that your blood is still pooling in the mattress. No one tells him that you have not closed your eyes. No one tells him that the last sound you made was not a scream, but a whisper. Tell my baby to run. Hours pass. Your breathing slows. Your skin turns cold. The midwives begin to clean the room, while the priest records your death in a small black ledger. Not by name, not as a queen, not even as a wife, just as mother of the crowned one. Your body is wrapped in linen and taken away before dawn. The chamber is scrubbed, the icons replaced. The next morning, the court celebrates with music and honeyed wine. The dynasty continues. The empire rejoices. But the walls remember, the floorboards still smell of blood. The sheets beneath the new queen's bedding still bear faint stains that no perfume can cover. The birds that used to nest outside your window no longer sing. The mirror once placed beside your bed is now cracked. No one speaks of you. No one dares. But the walls remember. By the time the sun rose on the morning after your death, the story had already changed. The court poet had composed verses praising the purity of the bloodline and the divine omen of a child born at the exact moment the imperial star reached its apex in the heavens. The historian had carefully inked a sentence into the official record, noting the successful continuation of the dynasty and the heroic endurance of its young mother, but not your name. The priests held a blessing ceremony at dawn, reciting ancient chants over the cradle, sprinkling oils across the infant's brow, proclaiming him chosen, sacred, ordained by the gods. No one mentioned the girl who bore him. No one stood before the crowd and wept for what had been lost. The bed you died in was stripped, the bloodied linens burned in a private furnace, and your body was wrapped in ceremonial fabric and lowered into a tomb that bore no inscription, no marker, no title. Not even your initials remained. You were erased not out of malice, but out of design. You were never meant to exist outside of the womb you carried. You were never intended to be remembered as a person. You were a passage, not a presence. The court moved on quickly. Within weeks, your brother husband was engaged to another girl, this one slightly older. Chosen for her childbearing hips and her lineage traced 3 generations through imperial blood. She was told of your death in vague terms, a tragic complication, and reminded that her role was a great honor. She would wear the same bracelets that had cut your wrists, lie in the same bed where your blood had soaked through the mattress, and be watched by the same matrons who once whispered over your trembling body. The cycle continued, smoothed by protocol and blessed by tradition. The portraits painted to celebrate the birth of the heir depicted the child nestled in the arms of a faceless figure draped in white. Artists were forbidden from rendering your likeness. Your face was not permitted to linger in memory. To remember you would be to remember the truth, and the truth had no place in the dynasty's myth. But the silence was not complete. Behind the drapery of a disused corridor, hidden between layers of peeling plaster, a chambermaid found something years later while cleaning, a name scratched faintly into the stone with the sharpened tip of a hairpin. Just your first name. No title, no flourish, just a single act of defiance in a world that denied you every other. Perhaps you carved it during one of those long nights when no one came, when the baby kicked and the pain spread like wildfire through your small frame, when the only thing left to you was the ability to mark the wall and declare, in some small, trembling way, that you had existed, that you were not a myth, that you had suffered, endured, and died with your eyes wide open. The child you birthed grew into a man praised for his wisdom and stability. Historians would call his reign a golden era. They would marvel at the diplomatic treaties he secured, the enemies he subdued, the temples he commissioned in the name of his ancestors. But the story of his beginning was polished and reworked until it gleamed. His mother, they said, was a noble woman of perfect breeding who died peacefully after delivery, her soul ascending in light. The real story was buried alongside your body, and the only people who remembered fragments of the truth were the ones too low to speak it aloud. Servants, wet nurses, the old midwife with shaking hands, each of them carried pieces of you in their memory, pieces that would eventually fade and die with them. This is how empires survive, not by preserving truth, but by curating memory, not by honoring sacrifice, but by simplifying it, sanitizing it, hollowing it out until only a symbol remains. And yet, your absence remains louder than any myth they tried to build in your place. The hall where you were wed no longer hosts ceremonies. It is said to be cursed. The roses planted outside your chamber never bloomed again. The women who prepare new brides now avert their eyes when binding their waists, their fingers trembling slightly when fastening the same jeweled clasps that once pierced your skin. The air in those rooms remains colder than elsewhere in the palace, and some say they have heard weeping where no one stands. Your ghost does not appear in mirrors or in dreams, but in the weight of the silence that follows every wedding hymn, every birth announcement, every coronation. You are not seen, but you are present, just beyond the edges of what history is willing to record. And so we ask, what is the value of a life that was never meant to be lived? What do we owe to the forgotten, to the sacrificed, to the girls whose bodies were used as blueprints for thrones? In the scrolls of empire, they speak endlessly of kings, of bloodlines, of divine order. But beneath all that grandeur lies your story, a quiet horror written in flesh and then erased in ink. And when we look back through the centuries, we are taught to admire the longevity of dynasties, the wisdom of rulers, the brilliance of conquests. But now we must look differently. We must look beneath the gold, beneath the glory, beneath the lineage that was praised for its purity and strength. Because there, buried in silence and in stone, lies a girl who did not choose, a girl who did not survive, a girl whose name they tried to forget, but who carved it into history anyway. You were a daughter. You were a sister. You were a child. They made you a wife. They made you a mother. They made you a tomb. And in doing so, they made a lie so beautiful and terrible that even centuries later we are still unraveling it. But the walls remember, and now so do we.